Today I want to begin a long conversation with listeners, which will continue without end until the logical conclusion, until the end of my life. This conversation is very important, where we'll talk about the most important works of piano literature. Today, I want to start with Mussorgsky's remarkable picture set exhibition, which needs a very big rethinking. I am absolutely convinced that listeners should be trained to understand the music that they are going to listen to. Do we need to explain the music? I often hear such a question. This is not quite the right question, not quite the right understanding of the task of the musician and artist, who gives a glimpse into his workshop or his studio to his esteemed public. This is not an explanation of music. It's a completely different process. You have not explained music. You cannot explain the music because it speaks for itself. Also, it is impossible and it's not necessary. But it's absolutely necessary to know and understand how music works, in quotes, of course. To perform serious music properly and to fully convey the composer's intentions, the performer must understand precisely the musical world, language, thoughts, and emotions of the composer that he is beginning to present to his intended audience. This is a very exciting moment, a living moment of communication with the living soul of the composer, which is left to us, to his live music forever. In the case of serious works, and especially with a great composition filled with endless meaning, special preparation must be undertaken by the performer and the listener alike to fully understand the composer's inner world. The lack of such practice, the training of listeners, and even professionals, has led to musical world to the fact that the performers themselves sometimes perform a work for centuries and at the same time still don't know it fully. And as such, they make mistakes in interpreting its meanings and misunderstand the principles upon which the music is built, its underlying laws, and an intended narrative. Let's try to break this vicious tradition. Fortunately, in our time, it's only recently it became possible for musicians to appeal directly to the public from their home, their workshop, and their studio, which makes it possible to strengthen the immediacy and intimacy of the connection between the artist, his friends, and the public around the world. And most importantly, it's enabled us together to raise the level of performing art, the outdated, historically outdated, intuitive, semi-shamanic level of the reflexive to the level of the modern, technologically enlightened public, a new society that lives in completely different technological era, but at the same time, culturally and spiritually still remains a backward, archaic society. Let's try together to understand the author music language, where each picture, each individual movement gives ample opportunity to communicate in general, though his musical series. Today we'll only tackle the beginning of so-called promenade, the walk, the first movement of the marvelous piano symphonic work of Mussorgsky. Promenade.